what is SNOO and how SNOO is different from other baby beds?
So SNOO is like completely different from other baby beds. It's so funny. In a way, I don't even call it a bed. I kind of think of it as your grandmother or your mother's helper, because it really is providing a service more than being a thing. But if you look at baby beds, for the last 1,000 years, beds haven't changed. They're really just kind of a box that you put the baby in to kind of keep away your toddler and keep away the dog and the cat. They don't have a lot of function. They really don't have any functionality to help the baby sleep or to calm the baby down. And so that's why we created SNOO, really to incorporate the concepts of Happiest Baby into a baby bed. And so the idea of the Happiest Baby is a couple of things. Number one, in a weird sort of a way, that we give birth to our babies 3 months before they're ready for the world. It's called the 4th trimester. A horse is ready to be born on the very first day of life. They can run the first day. Our babies, they're very immature by comparison. It takes them 3 months to really be good at cooing and smiling even. And so the key tip for new parents is that even though your baby's out and born, you imitate the womb 12, 14 hours a day, which seems like a lot from your perspective. From the baby's perspective, it's a ripoff, right? Because they used to be held and rocked 24/7 hours a day. And so if you imitate the womb, then you need to know, what's it like in there? And it turns out the womb is not quiet and still. It's a symphony of sensations. Every time you walk, there's jiggly motion. Every time you breathe, the diaphragm is pushing the baby down and rocking your baby. And the sound of the blood flow is 24/7. And they're snugly held. So to be born and you're in the world flat on your back in a quiet room, still not moving, you might think is right, but it's like totally wrong for a baby. It's like sensory deprivation. It's like putting you in a dark closet. Babies hate being flat on their back in a quiet room, still not moving. Now, of course, we want them on the back. That's the only safe position for the baby. But it's the least calming for a baby. So what does every grandmother know? She knows that if you want your baby to be calm, you sit in a rocking chair, you rock, you shush, and you hold your baby. And so we worked to develop a bed that could imitate what a grandmother does. We have a super wonderful sleep sack that is the safest sleep sack ever made, that babies can't pop out of, that keeps them hip safe, and that attaches to the bed so they can't roll over. So that's one big difference between SNOO and any other bed. It's never been possible in the history of parenting to put your baby down and know that they're going to stay in that safe position all night long. Because once they get to 2, 3 months, you're checking them at 3 in the morning, did they roll over? And it's a scary thing because you don't have control over that. So that's one big difference. But the other huge difference is this is a responsive bed. So it will rock your baby slowly and shush all night long to give babies that sensation that they're back in the womb. But then it also has microphones to hear when the baby cries and responds. So when the baby gets upset, it rocks a little faster, shushes a little louder and more high-pitched. And it goes through 5 different levels, really exactly what the best caregiver would do. Like if the baby's in your arms, right, asleep, you're rocking back and forth gently. But if your baby gets upset, you bounce a little more, shush a little louder. The baby gets more upset, and if the baby still keeps crying, you go, this baby needs to eat. And that's what the bed is able to do. Go up these 5 different levels. And if the baby calms down, great. Then it goes back slowly back down to baseline. But if the baby doesn't calm down, after a couple of minutes, the bed just stops. Because it means the baby's hungry. The baby needs a diaper change. The baby needs you. And so people sometimes say, is this going to replace me? Is this like, they're not going to need me anymore? And no, this is just a helper. This is just like if you got, hired a teenager to come over 5 hours a day, or your grandmother moved in with you to help hold your baby. It's just really a helper. one of the jokes is that this is not a magic bed. You don't put the baby in and the baby suddenly sleeps 8 hours. But what the bed can do is instead of you rocking your baby for 30, 40 minutes to get your baby asleep, you can rock your baby for 5 or 10 minutes. And when you're ready, put the baby down and let the bed do the rest of that. And what we see is babies oftentimes will sleep, instead of waking up after 2 hours, it'll stretch to a 3-hour stretch in the beginning, or 4, and ultimately 6, 7, 8, 9 hours by the time they're 2 to 3 months of age, which is better sleep than we ever thought was possible. And then finally, what the bed does is, through this pattern of having the same rhythms that the baby had in the womb, your baby will learn to be a better sleeper, will anticipate being calmer. And what we see is that babies can sleep through growth spurts and colds and teething and other things that kind of disturb a baby's sleep over those first 3, 4, 5, 6 months of life. And we ultimately see these babies don't need to be sleep trained. You don't have to let them cry it out and suffer through that and make your baby suffer through that, because they naturally learn to sleep better because they get the rhythms that they were used to in the womb. So in a certain sense, there's never been a bed like this. And that's really what, for me, is most exciting as a pediatrician, to be able to keep the baby safer and help parents be able to get some sleep so you can do the tough job, do the job that you need to do all day long.